As time moves on, as we get closer and closer to the next Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 DLC release, the realization is trying to strike in. Xenoverse 3 is just not going to happen. We know one thing for sure. 100% can confirm there's going to be another game at some point in the next year or so. It might take until 2022 before they even announce it. I'm not really even sure. But as far as the Xenoverse series, our beloved Xenoverse series, the more we get into these releases, the more I realize that we're probably never going to get it. You know, and I've talked about this so many times right now in the past couple years, to be honest. The first couple years after Xenoverse 2 came out, it was like, oh yeah, Xenoverse 3 is definitely going to happen. The game made too much money, it's too successful. There's no way that would skip it. But as time went on, and as we started not getting anything in regards to Xenoverse 3, and we start realizing that doesn't really matter, they can just drop another Dragon Ball game and it'll make just as much money for them. We're probably not going to get Xenoverse 3. I think we just have to accept it. I think, and I hate that I'm saying this, Xenoverse 3 is officially going to become the Raging Blast 3 of this generation. If you have no idea what that means, is there's that still percentage of people that are stuck on the fact that one day, Raging Blast 3 will get announced and they'll continue that series. And unfortunately, that's never going to happen. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because all I really care about is, I don't care if you call it Dragon Ball Sparking Yu Yu Hakusho Mask. I just looked around stuff in my own room and just threw out a bunch of words. It doesn't matter what they call the game. As long as they drop another game and it's fun, that's all that matters. So what I want to do in this video is just kind of talk about essentially what I would love to see in the future release of Dragon Ball games. And I want you guys to do so as well. Comment section below. Couple questions. Number one, do you think, let's see how many believers we still have. Do you think one day we're going to see a Xenoverse 3 release? If not, do you think we're going to see another game in that same element? Let me know down below. And two, whenever those games get announced, whenever you get to that point where they drop that announcement trailer for that game, what do you personally want to see the most? How about this? We limit it to 3 things. Pick 3 things that you love in Dragon Ball games. What do you want to see the most? Let me know down below. As far as me, I want to see a culmination of everything we've seen in past games, all basically encompassed in one single game. And that's something that Bandai has done for a very, very long time. If you think about it, Ultimate Tenkaichi, what did they give us? Character creation. Battle of Z, everyone's favorite game. What did that game give us? Team fights, team battle, team mode, basically being able to play together in one. They put that in Xenoverse. They always tend to figure out there's that one thing that people like, and then they just kind of expand on it and make it better in the next game. That's something I like about, you know, anime games. They don't always nail the idea at first, but they make it better in the sequel. And I feel like with all the data that they have from Xenoverse 1 and 2, whatever they end up pushing into the next game, they can make a really, really good game with it. Think about it. Legendary finishes. If you play Dragon Ball Legends, or even play Dragon Ball Fighters with the dramatic finishes, or even Kakarot with the super finishes, they have this thing where essentially if you get like a fancy kill, it triggers like an extra animation. For example, having Beerus pop out and do the Hakai, and it shows a cutscene of you being erased. Or the father-son Kamehameha with Youth Gohan. Stuff like that. I would love to see legendary finishes, because if you pull off a legendary finish in like Dragon Ball Legends or a dramatic finish in Fighters, it's so satisfying. As long as people don't, you know, quit out and stuff like that. Which, by the way, if Bandai ever does that, I hope this next game, if it does have a idea of legendary finishes or dramatic finishes, they have something in place where if people do skip it, you still get to see the animation. Because let me just obliterate my opponent, man, with style. Don't let me have them skip it. That's so annoying, especially in Fighters. In Fighters, it's so niche to get a dramatic finish. You work for it, you work so hard. Just to have your opponent skip is just a slap in the face. So don't do that, Bandai Namco. Make it better in whatever game you do next. But point is legendary finishes should always be a thing in future Dragon Ball games. Now, since we are talking about the Xenoverse series and character creation, something I would love to see in this next game also is going to be a faction type of thing. And I've talked about this so many times in the past 5 years. Because if you think about it, all we ever got in the Xenoverse series was the idea of being good. You got to be a time patroller. You got to save the future. Well, what if I don't want to do that? What if I want to be a time breaker? Well, like, let me be bad for once, you know? Because I know a lot of people over the course of the Xenoverse 2 life cycle have created characters that are villains. I mean, I've done it. I know CReax has done it. A lot of you guys have done it as well. In fact, if you have done a character that you created that's evil, let me know their story down below in the comments, because I'd love to hear about that. But let me be a time breaker, because you know what you get to do then? You got to create this extra like player versus player aspect where you got time breakers versus time patrollers. You either team up with Cronoa and the Supreme Kind of Time, or you team up with, you know, Mira and Toa. Like, you know how badass that would be? Bro, Let me get that. On top of that, you can do so much with the story there, where similar to what we saw in like Sonic Adventure, where you get to be a good guy and bad guy, but then it all melts together in like the true ending. Like that would be so fire. Because like right now I'm thinking like if they do a Xenoverse 3, what is the story? Because like we saw that the story was technically saved and everything ended, and the future is safe. Now I know you can obviously write something into it, but like what would you do is different? You can't do a Xenoverse 3 and have us go back in the timeline saving it over and over again, because at that point it would be really, really dull. So let me introduce what I talked about before. A time breaker versus time patrol setup. You know, like from there you can do so much original stuff. Now I don't know how much freedom they would have in regards to what they can and can't do there, but just the idea of it just has me so excited as a Dragon Ball fan. And the question I have for you guys is, if you made it this far in the video, is if you had a choice between being a time breaker or a patroller, who are you playing as first and why? Let me know down below. And also, while we're talking about custom created characters, for the love of God, let us have more styles. Because you know, the thing I always try to think about is when we get to that next game, what else can you add that the previous game didn't have? And honestly, for the character creation, the obvious choice is do more races. You can toss in like a bio android race, or an android race in general. You could even do stuff like aliens, or even like, I don't know, maybe angels. You could do all sorts of different extra races, but that's kind of plain, to be honest. Like, you throw an extra race and call it a day, I feel like you could do way more than that. And as Dragon Ball fans, we deserve more, you know? So what I would personally also add is have different fight styles. You know, if I choose an android race, or a Namekian race, or a Frieza race, let me choose between like 1 of 3 different fight styles. Because the thing that has always bugged me about the Xenoverse series is essentially people played pretty much either Saiyans and Earthlings. You know, every now and then you would get a Frieza race character here and there, or you might get, you know, the female Majin and stuff like that. But in general, it was pretty tied down to the most popular by far were Earthlings and Saiyans. People chose Saiyans because they can transform, they had all the transformations. People chose Earthlings just because they were broken. But the thing that always bugged me about those custom created characters is the fact that they always fought the same, man. For the love of God, let me get some different animations for once. So if we end up getting character creation in the next game, I would love to also see a form of being able to choose how you fight, how you play. Because at that point, you're also adding different variety. Because it's like if I play as an Earthling type A once, I might go back and play with type B and then type C. Like that gives you so much unlimited ways to play the game that I don't mind going back and doing the same thing over and over again, just in a different format. Like that'd be a lot of fun to me. On top of that, you can also toss in special things like you might have like regular fist style fighting, or like sword style fighting, you know, like for example with Trunks and Tapion. Or you might even toss in like another wild card by having them fight with like guns. Imagine, when I say guns, I don't mean like literally guns, but like the thing that Dragon Ball Legends does is they have certain Earthlings, for example, like Mai. She fights with like guns and rocket launchers. While that doesn't make sense against someone like, you know, fighting like a Goku, for example, it's a video game, so it doesn't really matter. So having like weapon style fight stuff for like Earthlings as an option would be hilarious. Or maybe even like tossing a power pole. Like having different like twists, fight styles with that would add so much variety to the game, and there's already so much variety as far as how you can create a character. Speaking of variety, for love of God, get rid of wigs and just add more hairstyles. The other big one will be just add more customization option, but that's kind of like a given. I mean, you're not gonna do character creation again and have the same options. But the only question is like, how would you do it so it's not always the same? Because the thing I hate about character creation in a lot of games is, while some games will have so many different options, in all reality there's really like 2 or 3 picks, because usually all the other options are trash. So what I think they should also do is really explore all the different like hairstyles and different like clothing styles that were available in the Dragon Ball universe, and just implement as much as possible in this next game. Now, speaking of looks, something that I have been trying to figure out as well is if they do another roster, what can they do to the roster change that's already different? I mean, yeah, we are missing a couple characters here and there, but for the most part, the Xenoverse series has pretty much done everybody. You know, we are missing a couple key characters, for example, like Demon King Piccolo, and I don't know, just randomly tosses out there Arale from, you know, the Dr. Slump universe. You can see like crossovers like that as well. But what I would love to see, honestly, is instead of like focusing on adding other characters that are not as important to the series, because at this point we already have all the major ones, what I would love to see is if they go back and actually redo some of the characters so they can work properly. What I mean by that is let me choose first form Frieza and be able to transform into second form, third form, fourth form. Because something that the Xenoverse series has always done is they add transformations that don't really have a big change. Like they have like the Super Saiyan forms, or they have like the potential Unleashed and the giant form, but they never done like transformations. Like for example, if I pick Bojack, I can't transform into final form Bojack. Then again, final or full power Bojack is not even in the game in the first place. But you know what I mean? I want to be able to pick like an alien or something, or an alien-based character that can transform into different states. That's been present in so many Dragon Ball games. for like the past couple of decades. And when the Xenoverse series came out, I never understood why they didn't do that. First, I thought it was maybe like a limitation with the hardware, but let's be real. We've seen it in the past games, so that's not it. And then Dragon Ball Legends, which is literally a mobile game, does it. They have literally characters by the same developers, because Dimps made Legends, the same developers, and they added the ability for you to transform into the different forms of like Bojack, for example, or you can go from like regular Frieza to Golden Frieza. Like, that should all be in the next game as well. If Dimps ends up making the next Dragon Ball game, whether it be Xenoverse or the Dragon Ball Project, whatever they call it, they need to bring that back, because I know they got the technology for it, and they already have the models already made and rendered out. You literally copy and paste the code and put it in console and PC. It's simple as that. Well, it's a lot more complex, but you know what I mean. Like, I want to see that come back as well in the future of these games. So now think about it, there actually is a lot of different things they can do if they were to do a Xenoverse 3 or whatever the next game is. See, the thing that kind of sucks is if they end up doing a brand new game from scratch, the only thing that's going to be annoying is, since it'll be the first entry, it's going to be missing a lot of content. And that's just what they do. I mean, look at Demon Slayer. We're, what, 2-3 months away from the release of it, and it looks like we're not going to get demons in it. And the main reason why is because they're probably working on planning a Demon Slayer 2, or they're going to give us the demons in format of DLC. Or maybe they haven't announced them yet, and they're going to drop like a crazy announcement at some point in the next couple of weeks. But the point is, as of right now, there's no playable demons in Demon Slayer. And that's what they do. They always like kind of create a half-ass game first, and then they go into the next game. So while I will be excited to see a brand new game enter in the Dragon Ball universe, there's gonna be that one part of me that's gonna be like, well, that means that game won't be good until a sequel. Well, with air quotes, because it could be very, very good, but the sequel is going to be the one that has like all the content that we're really waiting for. So that's something else to think about. So honestly, now that I think about it, what I would love to see more than anything will be a Xenoverse 3 then, because we already have everything kind of blueprinted out, and all we're really missing is these extra things that will perfect Xenoverse. And speaking of Xenoverse, for the love of God, netcode has to be prioritized more than anything. Because the thing is that the thing that made netcode and Xenoverse so bad was the desync issues. If they were to fix the desync issues and make the game at least playable, it would do so well in the long run. And look at it. I mean, we're still playing Xenoverse, and Xenoverse has like the worst netcode I've ever seen in my entire life. You can hop in with a friend and you're completely desynced, and it's like 2 different games from the 2 different perspectives available. So if they perfect that netcode, like think about how long Xenoverse 3 could last, or whatever this next series ends up being. There's so much you can do with the game. Anyways, I just realized I already kind of like rambled on way too long, way longer than I wanted in this video. So I'm gonna end it at that. This is basically just some of the things that I want to see in the next game. And really, this video is gonna be more like a discussion thing with you guys. So in the comment section below, you can tell me what you want to see. So again, limit to only 3 things. You can write out essays if you want, but pick 3 things that you want to see in a future Dragon Ball game, whether it ends up being Xenoverse or whatever they call it next. And let me know down below what you want to see the most. With that said, I'm going to end it right here. Stay tuned for Mario Maker tomorrow and more Dragon Ball content and stuff like that over the course of the next couple of days. But for now, I really just want to talk about this. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Rhymestyle. I'll see you in the comment section below. Peace.